What if compounding isn't just about money in a bank, but money in motion? That one question could change everything. Because while most people think compounding is about waiting 40 years for the stock market to reward your patience, the wealthy do something different. They don't wait. They build. They create business systems that multiply value month over month, not decade over decade. So the question is, are you compounding the right way, or just compounding time? Listen to the story. She was 35, burned out and stuck. A software engineer who did everything right. She maxed out her Roth IRA, invested early, and read every finance book that told her to let compound interest do the work. But after 10 years, nothing had changed. Her savings grew slowly, but her life? Same job, same stress, same ceilings. So then one day she did something different. Instead of investing in stocks, she bought a small online service business with healthy cash flow. Not sexy, not risky, just solid. 3 years later, she didn't just have more money, she had freedom. Why? Because business doesn't just grow, it compounds in motion. Every new client brought more referrals. Every new process saved more time. She wasn't saving harder, she was stacking smarter. That's the real definition of compounding the wealthy understand. It's not just interest. It's assets that build, multiply, and feed each other over and over again. Before we dive into how the wealthy actually use compounding in business, I want to gently invite you to subscribe to the channel, especially if you're tired of financial advice that leaves you waiting 40 years to feel free. Here, we explore real strategy, smart shortcuts, and wealth that moves with you, not away from you. All right, let's get started. If you've ever run the numbers on traditional compounding, you already know the story. Save early, invest in index funds, and wait 40 years for time to do the heavy lifting. And on paper, it sounds solid. But in real life, it often feels like watching paint dry while inflation eats your gains. MJ DeMarco calls this the slow lane, a financial highway paved with delayed gratification, minimal control, and a whole lot of waiting. And the most dangerous part? You're doing everything right, and still not getting anywhere fast. Now contrast that with the fast lane. In DeMarco's world, the wealthy don't just invest early, they build engines. They own businesses that produce cash flow today and systems that scale tomorrow. While slow lane investors hope for 7% annual returns, fast laners aim for multipliers, not percentages. And this isn't just theory, it's strategy. Because when you control the engine, you control the speed. But this is where the book Buy Then Build brings in the missing piece. Walker Diebel doesn't just talk about building engines, he talks about buying them. He shows how acquiring a business that's already cash flowing skips the painful early years of startups. Instead of waiting for a business to become profitable, you start with one that is. Then you improve it. And that's where true compounding begins, because unlike traditional investing, business allows you to layer growth, stack systems, reinvest profits, optimize operations, add new revenue streams. Each move builds on the last, not once a year, but every day. So while Wall Street tells you to wait, entrepreneurs build momentum. And that's the slow death no one talks about. Not because compounding doesn't work, but because traditional compounding works too slowly to give you your life back. The wealthy don't just compound returns, they compound time. And they do it through business. Coming up next, we'll explore what the wealthy are really compounding, and why it's not just money. It's systems that grow themselves. Most people think compounding is just about letting your money sit and grow. But the wealthy know something radically different. What compounds the fastest isn't cash, it's systems. And those systems, once built or acquired, begin to behave like living organisms. They get smarter, faster, more efficient. And eventually, they don't just grow. They grow on their own. MJ DeMarco is clear about this. In the Millionaire Fast Lane, he explains how true wealth isn't found in dollars, but in processes that print dollars. He talks about building businesses with structured systems, automated marketing, scalable delivery, consistent customer acquisition. Each component becomes a cog in a machine that accelerates the longer it runs. It's not about working harder. It's about building smarter. And the compounding effect? It kicks in the moment your system starts running without you. Now here's where Buy Then Build takes that concept and gives it rocket fuel. Walker Deibel shows how smart entrepreneurs don't always start from scratch. They acquire businesses that already have functioning systems. Think of it like finding a snowball that's already rolling downhill. Instead of building the snowball yourself, you jump in, add structure, and make it grow faster. Add a CRM to improve lead follow-up? That compounds. Automate billing and inventory? That compounds. Hire someone to take over a repeatable task? That's time and scale, compounding in motion. Imagine a bakery. The first few years, it's all hustle, sourcing ingredients, finding customers, running ads. But over time, the recipes get locked in, the suppliers become consistent, the customer base grows. Now imagine that bakery opens a second location using the same exact systems. Then a third. Then franchises. The system, not the baker, is what's compounding. The wealthy understand this deeply. They don't rely on effort. They rely on replication. So while most people are focused on saving 10% of their income, the wealthy are building processes that multiply 100% of their output. And once those processes are in motion, they start stacking, customer by customer, sale by sale, asset by asset. This is compounding in its most powerful form. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far and want more topics like this, comment the word "more" so I know. All right, let's take a look at why many wealthy entrepreneurs skip the slow, painful startup phase and instead buy machines that are already running. Here's a truth the average investor never hears. You don't always have to build the compounding engine from scratch. You can buy it. That's the shortcut the wealthy often take. Instead of pouring years into launching something that might work, they acquire something that's already working and make it better. In a pivotal chapter of Buy Then Build, Walker Deibel unveils a game-changing principle. His message is simple. Buy a machine that's already running, then improve it. This simple yet profound shift reshapes the way entrepreneurs approach business growth, turning acquisition into a strategic advantage. If you'd like me to summarize the book, simply comment with the word "book." Think of it like this. Building a business from zero is like planting a seed, hoping it survives the seasons and waiting years for it to bear fruit. But buying a business? That's like walking into an orchard that's already producing apples, with workers in place, delivery trucks lined up, and a customer list ready to go. You don't start at zero, you start at momentum. Deibel tells the story of an entrepreneur who bought a small manufacturing business with steady revenue and loyal customers. He didn't reinvent the wheel. He refined it. He optimized the pricing, digitized the workflow, added recurring billing. Within 18 months, profits nearly doubled. Why? Because the foundation was already laid. All he did was accelerate it. That's the compounding advantage of acquisition. You skip the riskiest part of the curve and land right where the leverage begins. MJ DeMarco doesn't focus much on acquisition in the Millionaire Fast Lane, but he does obsess over one thing: speed. Buying a business is speed. You leapfrog the early chaos and go straight to optimization, automation, and expansion, the exact levers that create exponential growth. So when you combine DeMarco's speed obsession with Deibel's acquisition model, you unlock a version of compounding that isn't linear. It's stacked. This is how the wealthy think. While most people struggle to start something, they quietly buy businesses with built-in systems, improve the margins, reinvest the profits, and watch the engine multiply. It's not just smarter, it's faster. Now let's switch gears and explore the secret fuel that takes these machines to the next level: leverage, and how the wealthy use it without losing control. Most people think the only way to build wealth faster is to earn more or spend less. But the wealthy know a third path, one that doesn't require more effort, just more leverage. In business, leverage is how you multiply outputs without multiplying inputs. And once it's in play, compounding shifts from arithmetic to exponential. The author explains this with brutal clarity in The Millionaire Fast Lane. He says, if you're the one doing all the work, you're the limit. But when you build or buy systems that run without you and then apply leverage, you become the multiplier. Let's break it down. There are three main types of leverage the wealthy use inside their businesses: people, systems, and capital. DeMarco calls this the holy trinity of scale. Hire a team that executes without micromanagement. That's human leverage. Build automated processes with software that runs 24/7. That's system leverage. Use other people's money responsibly to expand faster. That's capital leverage. Each form doesn't just add power, it compounds it. Here, enter another layer. When you acquire a business that already has some of this leverage in place, a small team, basic tech systems, recurring revenue, you're not starting from the ground floor. You're stepping onto the second story. And from there, every improvement you make adds vertical motion. It's the difference between climbing stairs and taking an elevator. Savings and solo hustle are stairs. But leverage? That's the elevator shaft. When used with control and clarity, it lifts you faster and higher than anyone walking the traditional path. Picture a content creator editing their own videos every night. Now picture someone who acquires a YouTube channel with monetized content, a small team of editors, and systems for uploading. The second person didn't just save time, they bought leverage. And the compounding begins immediately. This is the playbook the wealthy use over and over. They don't just scale effort, they stack forces that work together. Leverage turns a simple engine into a compounding machine, and once it's moving, the next step is knowing what to do with the cash it throws off, which is where most people get it wrong. In the next lesson, we'll talk about reinvestment and see how the wealthy use cash flow to rebuild and scale the machine over and over again. This is where the wealthy break away from everyone else. It's not just that they own businesses or that they apply leverage. It's that they don't extract too early. Instead of taking profits and upgrading their lifestyle, they reinvest those profits right back into the machine, over and over. That's the loop. And that loop is the real compound interest. MJ DeMarco explains it with a simple equation. Cash flow plus control equals velocity. When you own the business and it generates profit, every dollar becomes a tool, not just a reward. Use that dollar to hire someone. It frees your time to work on strategy. Use it to improve operations. Now your margins expand. Reinvest into better marketing. That dollar brings in 5. Suddenly, you're not just running a business, you're rebuilding it as a more powerful version of itself every cycle. Now let's talk about acquisition and see how smart entrepreneurs don't just buy a business. They buy a system that feeds itself. Here is an example. One business owner reinvested every penny of profit for 2 years, not into his personal bank account, but into upgrading CRM software, expanding the sales team, and enhancing product packaging. The result? A 3-fold increase in annual profit, achieved without any additional capital. That's not magic. That's the power of disciplined reinvestment compounding in real time. Think of it like a bakery. The profits from today's bread aren't spent on vacations, they're used to buy a second oven. That oven bakes twice as much bread, which brings in more revenue, which buys a delivery van, which reaches more customers, which increases volume, which buys a second location. That's not just growth. That's the wealth loop. The business rebuilds itself from within, again and again, until the owner doesn't just have more money, they have momentum. The difference between someone who reinvests and someone who extracts is the difference between a campfire and a wildfire. One burns out, the other feeds itself. Moving forward, let's explore the exact financial numbers that make this loop so powerful and how tiny improvements lead to massive long-term wealth. If there's one thing the wealthy obsess over that most people ignore, it's margins. Not headlines, not hype, just margins, retention, acquisition cost, lifetime value. Because when you're running a business, tiny tweaks in these numbers can compound into massive outcomes. MJ DeMarco is blunt about it in The Millionaire Fast Lane. You don't need 10,000 customers. You need control over the variables that drive your results. And when you do, that's where compounding becomes a science. Let's break this down. Imagine a business doing $500,000 in annual revenue with a 10% profit margin. That's $50,000 in profit. Now watch what happens if you increase prices by just 5%, optimize fulfillment to cut costs by 5%, and boost customer retention by a few weeks. Suddenly, your margins climb to 15%. That same $500,000 now produces $75,000. No more customers, no new product, just better numbers. And now imagine reinvesting that extra $25,000 into better marketing or team systems. That reinvestment doesn't just grow your business, it compounds the velocity of your engine. This is known as compounding through control, because when you buy a business, you're buying more than just cash flow, you're buying a set of financial levers. One entrepreneur Walker Diebold profiled acquired a SaaS company and focused only on reducing churn. That single metric moved profit margins by 12% in under a year. Not by scaling users, not by raising prices, just by tweaking one hidden metric. That's the numbers game the public never sees, but the wealthy master. And the best part? These levers are accessible. You don't need to be a genius. You just need to measure what matters and move it intentionally. That's what makes compounding in business so powerful. The results aren't tied to the market. They're tied to your decisions. Every percentage point, every process improvement, every reduction in acquisition cost, it all stacks. Up next, we'll confront the single biggest reason people never step into this game. Not lack of money, not lack of time, but a psychological wall that quietly holds them back. It's not capital. It's not experience. And it's definitely not time. The real reason most people never compound wealth through business? Fear. Fear of messing up, fear of risk, fear of losing what little they've built. So they stay put, clinging to safe strategies that promise comfort, not freedom. MJ DeMarco calls this the Sidewalk Mentality, a mindset where people trade potential for predictability, even if that predictability leads nowhere fast. You can see it in the questions people ask. What if the business fails? What if I can't manage a team? What if I lose my savings? But here's the better question. What if you never try? What if you live the next 30 years watching your 401k inch forward while your energy, time, and purpose fade in the rear view? Walker Diebold tells a powerful story in Buy Then Build about a man in his late 40s who spent 10 years thinking about buying a business. 10 years of analyzing, researching, preparing, but never pulling the trigger. Until one day, the company he worked for was acquired and he was let go. That was the push. He finally bought a small logistics business and within 2 years had replaced his income and doubled it. Not because he was a risk taker, but because he was tired of waiting. That's the truth nobody tells you. Business ownership feels risky until you realize the real risk is being dependent on a job, a market, or a system you don't control. Once you step in, Once you understand the levers, systems, and loops we've talked about, the fear gets replaced with clarity. And from that point on, compounding becomes a game of intentional moves, not passive hope. The wealthy aren't reckless. They're calculated. They understand that discomfort is the price of growth, and that the biggest rewards sit just on the other side of that psychological wall. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be ready. And if you are, let's wrap this up with the final guidance you need to start compounding like the wealthy, with strategy, not blind faith. If there's one thing to take from all of this, it's that compounding doesn't belong to Wall Street. It belongs to anyone willing to step out of the slow lane and take control of the engine. The wealthy don't wait decades hoping for 7% returns. They build systems, acquire leverage, reinvest profits, and compound on their own terms. Inside businesses, they understand and control. This isn't about gambling. It's about shifting from spectator to architect. Let's recap the shift. You've seen how traditional compounding is too slow for the life you actually want. You've learned how business systems, not just savings, are what the wealthy truly compound. You've explored how buying a business instead of starting one from scratch can give you momentum on day one, and you've seen how leverage, reinvestment, and financial precision all stack into an engine that builds real wealth, fast. Most importantly, you've confronted the one barrier that holds most people back, fear, and discovered that the only way out is through. So now it's your turn, not to try harder or wait longer, but to think smarter. Ask yourself, are you compounding in a way that gives you freedom, or just waiting for permission to live later? Because here's the truth. You don't need decades. You need a strategy. If this video helped shift your thinking, let us know by commenting below. I'm ready to compound smart. Your words might just be the spark for someone else who's been stuck in neutral. And if you found value today, I highly recommend watching my next video, which complements this perfectly. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. I appreciate your support. Until next time, stay consistent, stay patient, and stay winning. See you in the next one, Money Magician.